Now it is told that while the guests were seated around the fires during the feast, a man came into the hall. No one recognized this man. He was dressed in this way. He had a spotted cloak draped over himself. He was barefoot, and he had linen pants tied to his legs. He had a wide-brimmed hat on his head, and he was very tall, elderly, and had only one eye. This man drew a sword, and then he stabbed it into the tree trunk, and it sank up to the hilt. No one greeted this man. Then the man spoke. "Who draws this sword out from the tree trunk will receive the sword as a gift from me, and he will say truly that he never held a better sword in his hand than this one." And then the old man left the hall, and no one knew who he was or where he went. Well, we know who he was, don't we, people? Hello everybody, welcome to and welcome back to my channel Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the saga of the Volsungs, or the Volsung saga, which I read, it's probably about 10 days ago now, maybe, for my first participation in Sagalong, which is a wonderful yearly event hosted by quite a few people, all of whom will be listed down below. So as I said, it was my first introduction to these Norse sagas, and I have positive feelings towards it, although somewhat slightly mixed as well, which I will explain. Now obviously in the bit you heard there, if you didn't know, the one-eyed man, of course, is the appearance of the Norse god, the All-Father, Odin. So it was cool to have that kind of thing pop up. You know, even for a novice like me, I do know a little bit about some of the mythology of the Nordic lands. So that was really nice. And the book itself, or the story itself, is one that's had a big impact on Nordic and Germanic culture. There is, of course, influence in the Nibelung, or the Ring Cycle stories and opera and things that come from Wagner later. You get appearance of Valkyries, Sigurd, of course, Brunhild, among others. The story itself is it's extremely violent. There is a lot of blood, which doesn't bother me. Of course, I'm not particularly queasy as long as it, isn't necessarily cruelty to animals. Although there is some, but there are, there are werewolves. There's even a serpent/dragon, which you can clearly see the impact that had in influencing J.R.R. Tolkien and his character Smaug in the Hobbit. So it's obviously a very important work. The version I read was translated by Jackson Crawford. I have since kind of gingerly, what's the word? Not browsed. Pottered about through the William Morris verse translation of this work, and that was quite different. Although I haven't read it all the way through. My slight feelings, and I mentioned this in the group, was that I found it didn't flow super easily. I don't know if it was like a literal translation. I felt that perhaps the story could have weaved together more. It felt a bit stilted. I don't know if that's how it comes across in the original, but there is so much in it, and I think perhaps it is just meant to be concise. No flowery language, just the messages put forward. In fact, I think it may well have been Tilly from Tilly's Shelf who said that in the group when I raised my not concerns, but my slight issues with this work. But overall, I'm glad I read it. I'll definitely read more Norse sagas. Sagas. You know, it's an old tale. Obviously, it's been told down through the generations. It's got people in it that, even if we've never read any of these stories, we know who they are, of course. Just to, if you happen to be of like Northern European stock, like myself, I suppose, it's part of your culture, whether you're Anglo, Germanic, Nordic person. These things, of course, are part of part of our shared culture. You know, it's a rich tapestry of adventure and fate and blood feuds and vengeance and romance of a sort, I suppose. And, you know, it was something I'm definitely glad I read. I may well seek out other translations too, just to see, as I say, if it is the normal style of these kind of sagas, or whether or not it is perhaps a minor issue with the translation. But overall, I think, of course, you know, Crawford, of course, probably did a good job. I mean, I can't compare it. I have no knowledge of Old Norse or anything like that. So, but it would be kind of interesting to be able to read these kind of things in the original. So, as I said, you know, it might not be for everybody. I don't really want to spoil anything. I would urge you to read it, but of course, as I said, it is quite violent. So if it's something like that you can be that can put you off, then perhaps you better stay away from it. But it is a resounding testament to, you know, the enduring power of myths and legends, and, you know, the various themes of betrayal, honor, that kind of thing, characters marching inexorably towards their destiny, and, you know, and its cultural impact, as I say, cannot be understated. It really will. I think the fact that you can see so obviously the links to stories that are still popular, like you know, through opera, like Wagner's Ring Cycle or Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, Hobbit. You know, it's obviously very important on our kind of collective imagination, and this kind of bygone era where gods walked among mortals, and, you know, heroes defied fate and all this kind of stuff. So it's definitely worth checking out. And I'm really rambling on and on. I'm never really good at giving proper reviews like this, but I can only tell you, however jumbled they are, my own thoughts on it. But yeah, translation issues perhaps aside, but as I say, I don't really know. It's just I can only feel how it felt reading it, and as I said, that kind of stilted thing was the only slight drawback for me. But perhaps it's something you get used to. But I still think it's worth checking out. So there we have it, my wrap up for Sagalong 2024, and my first foray into the world of the icy world of Nordic sagas. Thank you very much for watching, if you made it this far, and I shall see you all again soon. Do take care, everybody. Bye bye.